Once upon a time, in a small village by the sea, there lived a man named Marcus. He was not the richest man in the village, nor the strongest, but he carried a quiet wisdom that made people stop and listen when he spoke. Marcus had spent many years studying the teachings of the Stoics, especially the letters of Seneca, and he had learned something very important: how to cultivate gratitude even in the hardest of times. One evening, as the sun set over the water, a young fisherman named Lucius approached Marcus. His face was heavy with worry. "Marcus," he said, "I don't know how to be happy. Every day, I work hard, but I never have enough. The sea gives me fish, but sometimes it takes them away. My house is small, my clothes are old, and I feel like life is unfair." Marcus nodded and smiled gently. "Lucius," he said, "let me tell you a story. Long ago, there was a king who had everything: gold, land, armies, and palaces. But no matter how much he had, he was never satisfied. One day a wise traveler came to his court. The king asked him, 'How can I find happiness?' The traveler reached into his bag and handed the king an old, worn cloak. 'Wear this for 1 week,' he said, 'and sleep on the floor. Eat only bread and water. Then, when the week is over, tell me what you have learned.' The king, though confused, agreed. At first the hunger gnawed at him. The hard floor made his back ache, and the rough cloth scratched his skin. But as the days passed, he noticed something strange. The bread began to taste sweeter, the water more refreshing. The warmth of the sun felt like a gift. When he finally returned to his soft bed and rich feasts, he realized something. He had taken them for granted. Marcus looked at Lucius. Gratitude is not about having everything. It is about seeing what you already have. The Stoics teach us that happiness does not come from more things, but from appreciating what is already here." Lucius frowned. "But how? When the sea is rough and my nets come up empty, how can I be grateful?" Marcus pointed to the horizon. "Every morning the sun rises, every evening it sets. The waves crash, the wind blows. These things are not under your control, but your mind is. The Stoics say that we suffer not from the events of life, but from our judgments about them. If you choose to see scarcity, you will always feel poor. But if you choose to see abundance, you will find riches everywhere." He continued, "Seneca once wrote that we should remind ourselves every day, 'I have lived today. I have seen the light of the sun. I have breathed. I have thought. These are gifts. The fish may come or go, but your ability to see, to feel, to be alive, these are constant, and they are enough.'" Lucius sat quietly for a while, watching the waves. Then he said, "So gratitude is a choice?" Marcus nodded. "Yes, and like any skill, it must be practiced. Start small. When you wake, say, 'Thank you for your breath.' When you eat, think of the hands that brought the food to you. When the wind blows cold, remember that you are alive to feel it. Even in hardship, there is something to be grateful for. Because Lucius thought about this. The next morning he woke before dawn and stood at the shore. Instead of worrying about the day's catch, he watched the sky turn from black to blue. He felt the sand under his feet. He listened to the gulls crying overhead. For the first time in a long while, he smiled. Days passed, then weeks. Lucius still faced storms and empty nets, but his heart was lighter. He began to keep a small journal, writing each evening of the things he was grateful for: the taste of salt in the air, the laughter of his children, the strength in his hands. He noticed that the more he looked for good, the more good he found. One evening he returned to Marcus. "I understand now," he said. "Gratitude is not about waiting for life to be perfect. It is about finding the perfection in life as it is." Marcus placed a hand on his shoulder. "You have learned well. Seneca wrote that no man is poor if he can look at the stars and feel wonder. the world is full of gifts for those who choose to see them. And so Lucius lived the rest of his days with a grateful heart. When storms came, he thanked them for the rain that fed the earth. When his nets were full, he gave thanks for the bounty. When they were empty, he gave thanks for the lesson in patience. He was not always happy, but he was always thankful, and that made all the difference. Stoics knew this secret long ago. Gratitude is not a reaction to good fortune. It is a way of seeing the world. It turns what we have into enough, and more. It transforms ordinary moments into gifts. And most of all, it reminds us that life itself is a miracle, one we are lucky to be part of. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what did I take for granted today? What small joys did I overlook? And tomorrow, when the sun rises again, open your eyes to the wonder of it. That is how gratitude grows. That is how we learn to live, not just as survivors, but as Stoics, as wise and thankful souls, in an ever-changing world.